Hello, welcome to this update for the Atlantic and spots of North America. So let's see what's happening. There's Category 2 Hurricane Imelda now heading straight for Bermuda. So Umberto passed by as well, and it brought some gusty winds nearby. But now Hurricane Imelda is getting close to Bermuda and it's expected to hit tonight in those areas. So it will bring some hurricane force winds in many areas and some very high winds. So please be aware. The winds are even to like close to 150, 160 km per gust possible of this system. So please stay safe there. This will be a very dangerous storm, plus storm surge as well. Some high storm surges, some coastal flooding. So please be careful in those areas. There's still some gusty winds there in the Carolinas, and that caused some damage in the Outer Banks as well. So continue to be careful there. The winds will decrease tomorrow during Thursday. So please be careful. And just mentioning something here, both Imelda and Umberto first, but later Imelda will head towards Europe later and become a powerful exotropical cyclone. So the European area has a tremendous exotropical cyclone towards northwestern Europe by Saturday. So if you are in Europe, please watch the video I will be doing tomorrow in depth about that. And Imelda is an interesting story. So shows Imelda keeps lingering in the Atlantic and actually tries to go further south, like by the 10th, and it just lingers there in the Atlantic. So Imelda might get lost, but Umberto is going straight for Europe later. So please stay tuned tomorrow and be aware. So now shows here as Hurricane Imelda and the remnants of Umberto. So this is the last advisory, and because it's kind of post-tropical and not organized anymore. So the real hurricane here is Imelda now. So Imelda is expected to bring damaging hurricane force winds and large damaging waves to Bermuda when it passes near or over the island tonight. Preparations to protect life and property should be rushed to completion. Tropical storm conditions expected to spread beginning later today, and heavy rain could cause flooding and flash flooding in Bermuda later today and Thursday. Swells and high surf is still expected along the U.S. East Coast and Bermuda next few days. So please stay safe in those areas. And there's a wide stretch of hurricane force winds, so please stay safe. The tropical storm force winds nearly 100% chance, so please be careful. Hurricane force winds even like as high as 70 to 80% chance. So this will be a very big storm. Be careful. And the 50 knot wind probability alright to like 90% chance. So please stay safe in those areas. This will be a very dangerous storm. And just for comparison, let's see. So 50 knots is already hurricane force winds because like this is 107 knots. So it shows arriving in Bermuda close to like some 83 knots that in km per hour should be close to like some 159 km per gust or even higher in some areas. So please stay safe in those areas, warn others. This will be very dangerous, especially the rainfall shows like total of 90 millimeters on the European spots of Bermuda. So please stay safe. And like 90, the European, the icon is like 124. The GFS has like close to 90 as well. So please be aware in those areas. There's this other model here. Don't look at that. So please be careful, especially like it'll be some 90 millimeters in less than 2 days. So it will cause some flooding. So please be careful those areas and warn others. And there's also this area of moisture near the southeast that shows in 5 days, close to 100 meters northern Bahamas again, and like some 4 inches the east coast of Florida. So please be aware as well. And a bunch of systems, the Eastern Pacific, that we didn't talk about last time. So shows like there's Octavia now. So we had Hurricane Narda like a week ago, and now there's Tropical Storm Octavia just heading out to sea. So no big deal there. But there's this other disturbance south of Mexico, already some 80% chance of becoming tropical depression or storm by the weekend. So please be aware. This might not hit land, but the track shows close to Mexico, so better just watch. And long range in the Atlantic is still showing the European has increased in confidence, like something the main development region again by mid-October. So it does show some members. It is not too much support, but it is some good support across Central and Atlantic, and even as south as the islands. So we are just watching this for now, nothing concerning yet. But there's like the members near Mexico and also near Central America, and this might be later in the month that the Gyre might activate some. So still watching. There's some rogue members near Florida, but no support for that. And there's like the Google AI. It does show some decent number of members across the Central Atlantic. So we better watch this next potential system. It has some members near the Gulf already. So better just watch this area near Florida because it does have some like a low pressure system near the southeast. Probably the one that will dump that heavy rain that I just showed you before near the east coast of Florida. So beware, the other Google AI has much less support, but still a few members. So be aware. And, and the GFS is like shows a few members as well, Central Atlantic, and a few near the Lesser Antilles as well, a little bit closer. So better watch this, but no major concern yet. But the GFS like members all over Central America, across Mexico, the Pacific, the Gulf, and also the Caribbean. So the GFS is stronger on the Central American gyre later this month. So better just watch because on week 2, from October 15th to the 21st, the Climate Prediction Center, they did highlight like some 30, 20 to 40% chance of a tropical depression or storm across the Caribbean, Southern Gulf, and the Eastern Pacific. So better watch this gyre later. And there's still this week across Central Atlantic there and across the Gulf a slight chance. And there in the Western Pacific and other areas. So be aware. So especially monitoring the Gulf and the Caribbean and the Central Atlantic, especially like the Gyre and the Central Atlantic, especially. So be aware. We'll keep watching, but especially be careful with Hurricane Imelda in Bermuda tonight. Shows like category 2 to category 1, and it will decrease in strength, of course. So be aware. And shows like here the GFS, it has like there's the remnants of Umberto going north and Imelda into Bermuda, and Umberto goes towards Europe and Imelda passes right over Bermuda. Later shows the system develops in the Eastern Pacific near Mexico. It doesn't have anything in the Atlantic yet, just this broad disturbance, but later, like always with the GFS, it does try to form something near Jamaica and Cuba. So better watch this, but like if I were you, I wouldn't watch because the GFS is kind of crazy. But just saying, better just keep an eye on the gyre later in those shock waves. The European has Imelda passing over Bermuda there now, and it has a wave tries to form the Central Atlantic around the 8th. It goes but struggles a lot. It might be like subtropical later or an exotropical down the road, but it does have a few signals on that shock wave. So just watching, but nothing too crazy. The Canadian has like Imelda there now, and he has the one in Mexico. Might be a threat to the west coast of Mexico, and it tries to form something. The Gyre, even the Gulf. The Canadian is like a rogue low pressure in the Gulf, and the shock wave there in the Central Atlantic as well to watch. But for now, those are just hypotheses. Nothing has formed yet. They didn't tag anything yet, but still watching. So another thing we are watching is the weather in the U.S., like excessive rainfall. Still a marginal risk in eastern Florida. Day 2 across the Northwest. Great Basin in Florida. Day 3 just Florida. Day 4 Florida, Louisiana. Day 5 Florida and Georgia. And like the Southeast, day 4 and day 5. So be aware. Day 1 through 7, they even have like 7 inches possible on the west coast, like between 5 and 7 inches. So this might be an interesting time to watch. Even to Louisiana, some 5 inches or more next 7 days. 7 days is a long time, but either way, this is a lot of rain. So please be aware in the Bahamas and especially the east coast of Florida. And we will see if they tag the low pressure system that will cause this rain, but I don't think that this will be tropical. It might just be some remnant moisture. So be aware. And rain is one thing, and snow is another. And guess what? We already might have some in the Rockies, day 4 and day 5. So like a decent chance for snow there, Wyoming into Montana, day 4 for Saturday and day 5 Sunday. So be aware because we already might have some snow today, mainly there across Washington, a tiny bit in the highest mountain, and the rest is in Canada. So be aware. And if you're wondering, severe weather, still nothing, but shows some general storms these days, like near the west coast, across Florida a lot, near the Mississippi Valley and the Gulf Coast, and in a few other areas. So be aware, but nothing too crazy. And here's today. So be aware, and does show like so what I showed you was 5 days, and 7 days increases more across Florida. But like just 5 days in the Central America, Caribbean, that storm forming close to Mexico might dump a lot of rain near the coast, even some flooding the west coast of Mexico. So please stay safe near the Gulf. It might be a broad disturbance as well, with some heavy rain from the Gyre. They show like 10 days out, even heavier like Guatemala, Honduras, and those areas 7 to 10 days out, especially those tropical downpours. So stay safe in those areas, even 100 millimeters or more. So please stay safe. And there's this Pacific disturbances there in the Pacific. And there was that typhoon like a week ago, Neoguri, that came as an exotropical cyclone towards Alaska and spots of Canada as well. So that typhoon did influence the weather some in those areas and is still influencing. And does show more low pressure south of Alaska and British Columbia later by the end of this week with more heavy rain and snow and across the lower 48 still shows like a potential system with some snow and more rain across North Dakota, South Dakota, and more areas. I might go into Canada, spots in Manitoba and Ontario. Next 5 days shows more rain as well. So be aware. And that's the rainy part, but there's the snowy part, shows like in the Rockies, and especially like might be heavier across Wyoming, some 13 inches, on the European Montana, some 12 inches. So be aware, possibly even central Utah is already to 7 inches, spots in Colorado as well, and shows spots even like into the Sierra Nevada in California, 2 to 3 inches, Nevada. So you might get your first cool snowfall of the season. So be aware, the GFS is much less, but does have some in Colorado and California, but especially there in Wyoming. And the icon is like especially in Wyoming, so like 20 inches, but shows a tiny bit in Utah. So be aware in those areas. And does show like the European 5 days across the Alberta, British Columbia, some 10 centimeters, spots southern British Columbia. So be aware, and that shows some snow in Manitoba and Saskatchewan already, especially northern areas, and a lot into like southern Yukon in the mountains there. Central Yukon, most of Yukon, northwestern territories might get some snow in next 5 days across Nunavut, especially northern areas, and there in the Arctic, of course, shows a lot in the islands, in the archipelago. So beware. But especially there in Alaska, some 15 inches, even to like 54 inches in a few areas, southern Alaska in the mountains. It like shows a lot central Alaska to 15 inches in more areas. So be aware too and stay safe. Long range does increase slightly across Canada, probably central Canada, long range, but still some time before that happens, so don't worry. But even until October 8th, a slight probability across northern Ontario, but still watching and like northern Labrador and Quebec. So be aware, those areas, there's that front and cyclone across the Pacific Northwest now, some gusty winds near the coast, and might be some gusty winds near northern Quebec by tomorrow, Thursday. So Friday, there across the Great Basins, Southern Rockies, the US, and also across Western Canada, British Columbia, slightly gustier. Shows some strong winds by like Sunday the 5th across North Dakota, South Dakota, even like some, let's see, some 61 mile per gust on the European. So this might be important low pressure system to watch. Still not seeing much severe weather with this, but will cause some heavy rain and some strong winds. Saturday and Sunday, the GFS has weaker, but does have some gusty winds as well. And the icon kind of, so the European is actually stronger. And just checking, like Cape barely shows any, shows a little bit for a few storms, but overall, not a big chance of severe weather. This is more like a, a fall rain event. So be aware, and that's snow in the Rockies later this week. So there's the temperatures as well, already colder across northern Canada and Alaska, those areas, and some 20s, 30s Fahrenheit in the Rockies already. But still warmer, southern US in those areas. So throughout this week, like Friday, shows in Arizona even to 100 degrees. A few spots in the Midwest, quite warm. Still some minor to moderate heat risk in a few areas. So be aware. But in Alaska, like I think moderate cold risk shows right in the teens Fahrenheit there. So be aware and shows like especially during the day it does warm up more tomorrow Thursday in the south and spots there. So be careful and during the night already colder in the Rockies in those areas, especially northern Canada and like northeastern Canada as well, especially like some 0 - 1 degree Celsius in a few areas eastern Canada, but especially along like western Canada in those areas. But in the US, might get colder by this weekend in the Rockies, especially next week, Tuesday the 7th. The Euros like to 9 degrees Fahrenheit in the highest peak of Wyoming. So this is still watching, but possibly colder later next week. So you keep watching, stay safe.